Hey, what's up YouTubers? Lee John Blackmore here at Super Easy Guitar. So this week we're covering how to master strumming. I've had so many emails about this and so many questions. I've decided to do a video and I've set it out in 10 simple steps that you can follow. Now, if you're a complete beginner and you're just getting into strumming, at the beginning of this video I've put 5 essential tips for complete beginners. And I answer questions like, should I be playing with a guitar pick? What's the correct way to play with fingers? This sort of thing, okay guys? Then I go straight into the 10 steps, but wait there. If you've gotten to the end of those 10 steps and you feel you really want to take your guitar playing to the next level, I've given you 10 bonus tips on things to do that you can help improve your playing, like muting with your left hand and your right hand, maybe playing stood up, and all sorts of tips like that, okay guys? So make sure you check it out right to the end. Despite your guitar level, I'm sure you will pick some tips out of this lesson. Let's zoom in and get straight into it. So starter tip number 1, do I use a pick or do I use my fingers? Which is the correct way? Well guys, there is no wrong or right way. It's just, what you prefer. If I play with a guitar pick and then I play with my thumb, you hear the difference, right? Now it depends what style of guitar player you are. I mean, I play with fingers as well as a guitar pick, so it just depends what kind of sound you want to make. What I will recommend though in the beginning is definitely have a go with a guitar pick. If you've started off, if you're a beginner and you've started off with fingers and you kind of want to play faster stuff, then definitely get used to playing this pick. And I always think, I've seen my students that started with fingers and then moved into a pick, they always found the transition more difficult. But if you start with a pick, then move your transition to fingers is definitely a lot easier. Number 2, what type of pick shall I use? Well, definitely not a hard pick, okay? Because a hard pick will be really brash. Well, I got a hard pick here and I can make it sound soft, but when you're a beginner, it's very difficult to do that. So if you get a guitar pick that has some give in it, okay, that's a little bit floppy, not too floppy, like I think between 0.50 millimeters and 1 mil. This is a 1 mil and it's actually made out of nylon, so the sound is a bit smoother. Okay, anything too hard will, might sound a bit too brash, okay? So try with something soft. Number 3, how do I hold the pick? Very important. Definitely not like that. What's going to happen when you hit your string? It's going to fall out of your hand, okay? If you hold it too close together, you're not going to have enough pick. So this is obvious stuff, guys. And please, guys, don't hold your guitar pick with 2 fingers like this. It creates too much tension in the pick. You want it to be able to move around a little bit, okay? It is supposed to move around. Now, all I do, I flatten my finger down and I just put my thumb over the top like so. And you can kind of see it points out the side, maybe sometimes to about 11 o'clock, okay? And just rests on my finger underneath the tip of my finger most of the time. But like I say, it does move around and you kind of want probably like half the pick. You see how much I'm holding? And then the other half is showing like so, okay? Actually, that's what it looked like on my finger behind. And there you go. So there's all different ways, but that's, how I hold it anyway. However, if you are not playing with a guitar pick, no big deal, guys. You can use the side of your thumb. Make sure your thumb's pointing forward. You don't want to be putting the wrist out here and any of this business, okay? Make sure that the thumb sits on the lower string and just strum with the side. You will get a sore thumb until you build up a callus on it. That's just thick skin, okay? And you can, to upstrum, you can actually use the back nail of your thumb by turning the nail in But you're just brushing over the strings, guys. You're not digging your fingers in or anything like that, just brushing over them. You can do the same with your finger, except it's going to have the opposite effect on a downstroke. It's going to sound a little bit brighter because you're hitting it with your nail, and then softer on the way up because you're hitting it with the flesh, right? Sometimes I drop my pick when I'm playing live, and you know, I'll use the same motion like I'm holding a pick, but it's invisible, and you can get away with it. So what I was doing there, when I hold just my fingers together, I've got my nail there and my nail there to, you know. Okay, so tip number 4, if you're learning to strum with kind of down ups and stuff like that, and you've never done it before, and you're just beginning, make sure you know your chord changes. Make sure you know your chord shapes and changes. What you don't want to do to get good at strumming is, oh, where's the chord? And you see this hand stops. You don't want that to happen. So you want to know your chord shapes very confidently. Finally, number 5, again, very important, staying with the theme of the chords, make sure you can change your chords without looking, and make sure you can strum the strings without looking, okay? If not, then, you know, you've got a bit of work to do. And especially if you're trying to sing and play, practice for a very minimum of 15 minutes doing this, and just strumming and changing chords. Doesn't sound that interesting, but when you're singing, of course, the singing makes it more interesting. But you don't want to be, where's that chord? Where's that? Okay, you don't want any of that, all right? Okay, so let's get into these 10 steps. Step number 1. The first thing I want you to do is just pick one chord, okay? Now, the important thing about this exercise is you want to blindfold yourself. It sounds ridiculous, I know, or just close your eyes, okay? And I want you to find that chord that you're comfortable with, and I just want you to do downstrokes. 1, 2, 3, 4, and you're going to count them. And if you find you can't be consistent, then do it until you get consistent. Now, in order to move on, we need to get these foundations solid, so when you do move on to the next level, things are going to sound really good. So there's a couple of things to remember here. Make sure you're not hitting the guitar too hard, and make sure you're consistent. 1, 2, 3, 4, and make sure you're relaxed, okay? Close your eyes and get comfortable. Swap between different chords. See if you can do it seamlessly. Number 2, something else to think about. Make sure there's movement in your elbow, and also there's movement in your wrist. So sometimes as well, when you stood up, there's movement in the shoulder, but I'm never conscious of the shoulder moving too much, okay? So I'm just going to pick another chord. I'm going to pick G. And let's just focus in on this elbow for a second. So you can see there's a bit of movement in my wrist, and also it's being helped along with the elbow. And the elbow is just resting here on that pivot point on the guitar. So what you do not want to do is this. Just strum from the wrist, or just strum from the elbow. We don't want to see any of that, okay? Because it creates tension. So you have to relax and make sure you're using the elbow and the wrist. Now, the way to test that you're doing that properly is just put your hand out and let it hang like, you know, a dead spider, and just shake your arm. And that's pretty much what we use to strum, except, you know, we're going to hold a guitar pick and do it. So my hand's really relaxed, my wrist is all relaxed. So you can try that as well. Step number 3, During this tutorial, you will see me playing big strokes across the guitar, and that's so you can see when I've done a downstroke and when I've done an upstroke. However, when you're playing, you always want to keep your strokes really narrow. You don't want to be down here then up there, unless you know you're windmilling or something like that. Okay, so as we're getting to know these different rhythms, just keep the strumming quite narrow. Try not to come up here and then you end up strumming too hard or coming too far away, and then you're going to lose timing to get to the next beat. Okay, so try and keep everything nice and narrow and tight. So step number 4 is related. Make sure you stay close to the strings. I see a lot of people strumming like this, strumming out. Work on that, guys. You see this scratch plate on the guitar? That's because when we get too close to the guitar, we end up hitting the guitar itself, and that just protects it, okay? So make sure you keep everything nice and close, whether you're playing with your thumb or with a guitar pick. Definitely not like this, down to the ground, okay? Step 5, let's start adding an upstroke. Again, I want you to use the same thing. You're blindfolded, you're just feeling the chords, okay? But we're going to count it like this. We're going to go 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and that and is what we call an offbeat. So a downstroke, down to the ground, that's an on, and then up is going to be an offbeat. Not always, but just in this example. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Just like everything else, you have to keep it consistent. Don't think that I'm hitting all the strings on the way back up. On my downstroke, I'm pretty much hitting all of them. On the way back up, I might just hit 2 or 3 strings. Keep it light, relaxed, and consistent. Step number 6, you want to be doing these down ups. And if you can count them, even better. 1 and 2 and. Make sure you've got your eyes closed. Make sure you're consistent. Make sure everything sounds nice. Make sure you're close to the string. So everything we've covered, except now, you're going to change between your chords and try and keep it consistent. You might think this is like really easy and you're way beyond it, but actually very rarely do I see beginners that are very consistent in their strumming. And again, you don't have to cover all these steps in one hit. They might take a week or so to master, okay? So, changing between the chords with just down upstrokes. Keep it consistent, because the next step, well, let's have a look. Step number 7. I'm going to teach you probably one of the most popular strumming patterns. And it goes like this. Down, down, up, down, up. Okay? So what's going on with guitar rhythms? Now, any strumming pattern you've ever come across, they'll always consist of a down strum and an up strum. So if we just continued, that and then decided where we were going to strum down, we could have virtually any strumming pattern we wanted. For example, if I wanted to do 3 downstrokes in a row, I could go. But let's look what was happening there. So I was going down, then up, but you didn't hear it, and then down, then up, and down, and up. Okay? So effectively, my hand was just doing that. What if I do a down, down, up, up? We got this. My hand was still doing the same thing. Down, and then I come back up again. Down, and on the way back up I hit the strings. Up, on the way back down I missed, and then finally I hit the strings again on the way back up. Down, down, up, up. So the hand, you know, it keeps going. We just decide where we're going to hit the strings. So very slowly, I make sure that I say this out loud, and it's very important you say this out loud, and don't think, you know, you're being crazy or anything. It's really good. Now, whatever you say, you have to play. Okay? So, what I'm doing, I'm going down, down, up, up, down, up. Now, you can't do it like this. Down, down, up, down, up. Because strumming is all about rhythm. Strumming only sounds good when you have good rhythm, good timing, okay? So it has to be down, down, up, down, 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 up, down, up. So if I do that slow, down, down, up, down, 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 up, down, up. Or maybe we'll break it down into something even easier. Down, down, up. So if you get comfortable with the down, down, up, you can just put the down up on the end later. So down, down, up. Here we go again. 2, 3, and down, down, up. Now I'm going to put another down, up on the end. You ready? 2, 3, and down, down, up, down, up. So make sure what you're saying is exactly the same as you're playing. Now do it really slowly. Down, down, up, down, 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 up, down, 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 up, down, up. If you were feeling more advanced, and you wanted to add a rhythm clap into it, or rhythm tap, whatever you want to call it, down, tap, up, down, tap, up, down, up. So the rhythm clap is just where I'm hitting the strings and muting them at the same time with my palm. That takes a bit of getting used to. It's a bit of an advanced. If you can't do that, you can just do a chop. Down, down, chop, up, down, chop, up, down, up. Number 8, playing with dynamics. What do we mean by dynamics? Well, it's kind of just about playing hard and then so you can hear the first one I'm hitting. It's quite long and it's quite loud. And then the others are a bit quieter. You can do one chord fast, the next chord slow. And you see I'm building up. Again. So think about these things, how you're playing the chords, how you're playing the rhythm, loud, quiet, soft, hard. So step 9. Sometimes we're going to want to know exactly where each strum goes on the beat. As I said in step 7, we did this down, down, up, down, up. Now I want to show you how to count over that and how it actually works. Okay, so for this example, I'm just going to load up my metronome here. So I've just got pip, pop, pop, pop. So that first one is what we call the accent. And that's what we call the 1. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So if I'm just playing along with that, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. We've just got our quarter notes. Now, as we said before, if we want to play eighth notes, we have to count in between the 1, 2, 3, 4. And it goes like this. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Okay, but you see it's twice as long as 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So if we've got quarters and eighths, yes, we're definitely going to have 16ths. So we're going to fill in the gaps again, right? And we count them a little bit differently. So we'll count them like this. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a. And let me show you how that sounds with the metronome. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a. So the first one 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. The second one is 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 in the same space of time. And the last one is 16ths in the same space of time. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a. Okay? They are the three main patterns that we use in every single guitar song that we know, okay? You will use some form of a quarter, an eighth, or a 16th. So let's use the metronome to count where our down, down, up, down, up lands. So let's listen first. 1, 2, 3, 4. Down, down, up, down, down, up, down, up. Down, down, up, down, up, down, up. Sometimes it helps if you tap your leg, tap your foot on the floor as well. Now using that principle, if we go back to the strumming that we learned in step 7, the down, down, up, down, up, the way you would count that would be like this. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So what happened there? So we've got 1 skip, down, up, skip, up, down, up. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Now if I accentuate the movements, you'll see where the rhythm lands. Here we go. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So your down, down, up, down, up, if you count it, it will sound like this. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So step 10, we're going to add a beat over the top of what we're doing, i.e. a beat or a metronome. If I start off with the metronome, you'll get the idea, right? So here we go. So I'm using exactly the same rhythm. Down, down, up, down, down, up, down, up. But now I'm playing it to that beat. Instead of trying to think down, down, up, down, up, I'm playing it with that rhythm. Now metronomes can be notoriously quite difficult in the beginning to play along with, and they're very robotic. So sometimes you can go on YouTube and you can find a backing track of a drum loop or something like that. Make sure it's nice and slow. This one's kind of medium, it's like 90 BPM. And I've just set up a drum loop which will sound a bit more interesting to play along, and you'll hear the effects. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I really hope that those steps have helped you out, guys, especially if you're a beginner to intermediate and you're kind of moving your way up. I will do a more advanced lesson on different rhythms. I do have also another video on 10 different strumming patterns you must know, okay? I'll put a little link to that below. So here's some tips that hopefully will help you along with those 10 steps as well. Tip number 1, always try and keep the arm going. Even if it's a guitar song where the rhythm kind of stops, it breaks. You know, you can actually kind of, just by playing in the air, by ghosting, you can keep that rhythm going. Okay, try and keep this arm going at all times, and that'll help your rhythm tremendously. Tip number 2, a majority of us will sit down primarily to do our practicing. However, if I'm performing or rehearsing with a band, I put a strap on the acoustic and I'll stand up and practice, and you'll find you put more energy into a performance and your arm will move differently and everything kind of changes, and it's a really good way to practice your forms and get a good feel, tapping your foot at the same time. So just try it. Tip number 3, when you're playing with dynamics that we talked about earlier, make sure you give the guitar a bit of breathing space. What do I mean by that? Even if the guitar is just full of rhythm, try and break it up a bit. Okay, you don't have to fill in all the gaps. Let the guitar ring out and do its thing. Make it sound nice. It's not always about strumming. Tip number 4. Dampening the strings with the palm of your hand. So when I want those notes to die, I'm literally just closing them off, resting my hand. You can also mute with the left hand. So all I'm doing there, I'm playing the chords, then flattening my fingers and changing in between chords, resting the fingers over, lifting them off when I want the sound to sound. Tip number 5, playing on different parts of the sound hole. So we'll give you different sounds. So it'll sound really smooth. You hear like Keith Richards, or you see Keith Richards doing this kind of thing. You know, and so if you play right close to the bridge, you get a really sharp tone. Play up the neck, sounds really smooth. In the middle, it's a balance of both, right? That's pretty much what an electric guitar pickup does. When you see the pickups, it's picking up the sound off the neck, off the bridge, and then a mixture of both. So you can play with that as well. Tip number 6, you don't always have to play all the strings. For example, if you're kind of playing something funky, in this example, I'm playing the low strings as a kick and the high strings as like a snare. Kick, snare, kick, kick, snare, kick, snare, kick, kick, snare, kick, snare, kick, kick, snare. So I've just split the guitar down the middle to low and high. Low, high, low, low, high. Tip number 7 would be go away and watch other guitar players. Watch how they perform different strumming patterns and watch their different techniques. You know, learn from them. That's how I learned. It's quite kind of old-fashioned, but when I was a kid, I had a VHS and I used to record like live shows, and I used to rewind and play and watch what all these guys were doing and just trying to emulate what they were doing. It didn't have to be perfect, but watch other people, see what they do, and just try and emulate them, try and copy them. So tip number 8, and it's quite an important one, okay? Whether you're writing your own songs and playing your own songs, or you're playing covers, or you're just trying to improve, it's very important not to think about rhythm. Rhythm is internal. It's something we feel, like emotion. We don't think it, we feel it, and that's what makes it sound so good. Tip number 9. So there's thousands and thousands of backing tracks on YouTube for you to just play and play along with, whether they're famous covers or they're just songs that people have written, or even just drum beats to play along to. Have a go, have fun with them, and they're really good for not only improving your rhythm, but improving your soloing as well. So have a look at those. Finally, tip number 10 is just me saying to you, get away from the computer, go and find someone to jam with, sit down in a room with someone. And I know it's difficult sometimes wherever you live in the world, you know, with the pandemic and all, but as soon as you can, get out, find someone else to jam with, find your friend, show them how to play something and play along with them. And that will be the best way to improve your rhythm. Find a drummer, play, you know, just with other people, other musicians, and it will improve your rhythm radically. So there you have it, guys. Hope you enjoyed this week's lesson. Please don't forget, hit that subscribe button if you'd like to receive my weekly updates, and don't forget the bell button as well. Below, I've got some merchandise for sale, which helps me out, and I've got a Spotify playlist that I've made with virtually all the songs I've done lessons for. So check that out as well, okay? If you love what I do on this channel, guys, I've set up a PayPal donation button. Any loose change you have would be massively appreciated, and it really just helps me out continue with these lessons and doing all the things I do, guys. And one thing to remember, if you leave me a comment below, I will read it. I read all of the comments, and I will do my best to reply to all of your questions. Enjoy, guys, and I'll see you again the same time next week.